CDC. I welcome you all to this session. Um, so this session is basically today is to discuss the implementation plan for active monitoring of adverse effects of ARV drugs, particularly DTG-based ARV drugs. So as you all know that NACO is now introducing DTG-based regimen, and slowly most of our patients would be on DTG based regimen, and that's why NACO thought that we should start doing some active monitoring to know what adverse effects do we have in our population, so that we can actually establish the safety profile of this drug. So uh, to start with, I'll request Dr. Goyal to give his introductory remarks. Purnima, is Goyal sir there?
No, yeah, Dr. Reshu Goyal sir is in another meeting. Probably he'll join after, later, a bit later.
Okay. Thank you, Purnima. So I think we will move forward, and maybe he can address us later on. So now I'll request Dr. Melissa Nyandek, who is our program director for CDC India, DGST team, to give her remarks.
Hi, am I audible, Rishu?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here today for the kickoff of the monitoring of advanced adverse effects of dolutegravir. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Naresh and Dr. Chinmoyi and the NACO team for spearheading this initiative. Over the next several hours, about implementation approach to monitor the rollout of dolutegravir, including reporting tools and standard procedures. But taking a step back, I wanted to highlight the importance of pharmacovigilance activities like this in real time to assess adverse effects, especially in the context of different countries, and in this case, in the Indian context. Also at the outset, we know dolutegravir-based regimens, of which TLD is the mainstay, are well tolerated. The guidance from WHO in 2019 highlights TLD as the preferred first-line agent for people initiating treatment and highlights dolutegravir with an optimized NRTI backbone for second line. In fact, in a systematic review, dolutegravir-based regimens led to higher viral load suppression, less treatment discontinuation compared with efavirenz, and lower impact of drug-drug interactions. Additionally, dolutegravir has a higher barrier to genetic resistance and is active against HIV-2 and has a swift decline in the viral load, thus impacting our undetectable equals transmissible messaging. In post-marketing studies, common side effects included insomnia, fatigue, and headaches, and others that you'll hear about today, including weight gain. Additionally, there was an early signal from Botswana about the prevalence of neural tube defects. However, updated data follow-up with the risk estimates, it shows a continued decline through April of 2020, showing a possible increase in risk, in fact, is very low, such that WHO recommends a women-centered approach. So in summary, information in assessing dolutegravir in real time will greatly benefit the program, inform medical providers and patients, and ultimately impact our ability to counsel clients and patients for lifelong ART to avoid treatment interruption. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Reshu and look forward to the day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Melissa, for setting the context. Now we'll start with the session today. So in this session today, we have divided this session into 4 parts where we discuss about the rationale for monitoring of adverse effects of ARV drugs, particularly DTG-based regimen. Then we will be discussing about the implementation plan of this active monitoring exercise, which is being conducted through COEs, PCOEs, and select ART plus ART centers. We will also discuss, as Dr. Melissa was saying, it's very important to systematically document, record, and report the adverse effects. So we will be discussing about some of the recording and reporting requirements for this activity. And then we will discuss about the standard operating procedures for AE monitoring, like for this activity, how the patient flow would be, and like what all is to be documented and who is responsible for all those things. So this would be mainly the flow of the presentation. Coming to the first part of the presentation, so rationale for monitoring of adverse effects for ARV drugs. So why do we want to monitor the adverse effects of drugs? And Dr. Melissa has already set the context for this. We know in our country, we have almost 2.1 million people HIV who are estimated to be living with HIV, with nearly 1.4 million people on ART. And now program has adopted DTG-based regimen for all adults, adolescents, and children weighing more than 20 kg or more than 6 years in first line, as well as second line, as well as third line, and also for HIV-2 patients. So going forward, as I said earlier, DTG-based regimen would be our most commonly used regimen in the program. And that's why from the very beginning, it is very important to understand how our patients are tolerating DTG based regimen, and are we getting any specific symptoms or signs or signals in our population. Next slide, please. So about DTG, as you all know, program adopted DTG-based regimen based on the WHO recommendations, and then the recommendations made by the National Technical Resource Group held last year. And now all the centers are receiving these office memorandums from NACO regarding the phased implementation of DTG-based regimen. And why NACO adopted these DTG-based regimen? Just a quick review of this. So it helps in achieving a rapid viral load suppression. And when you compare with efavirenz, it takes only 4 weeks on an average as compared to 12 weeks with efavirenz. Also, fewer toxicities and adverse effects are reported with this drug, and especially the systemic analysis showed that the discontinuation rates were very less with DTG-based regimen, less than 2% when compared with efavirenz, which is comparatively higher. Even during Mission Sampark, when NACO did some of the in-depth interviews of the patients who became LFU, it was highlighted that a significant proportion of the patients do not come, or they become LFU or discontinue their treatment because of the side effects. So in those terms, I think this regimen is going to help our program. Obviously, it is a more potent regimen, and there are no known treatment emergent resistance across any of the trials till now. There are minimal drug interactions with other drugs, so it can be used safely with most of the drugs, and we just need sometimes just the dose adjustments for DTG, especially if it is being used for TB patients, HIV TB co-infected patients, then you have to give an additional 50 milligram dose of DTG to these patients. It has high genetic barrier. It is also effective against HIV-2, and then adopting DTG-based regimen is actually helping in simplification of the ARV regimen across all the patients, across all populations, and it's helping to set the ground for optimization of the treatment for PLHIV. Next slide. So why do we want to monitor the adverse effect of DTG? So, we know from whatever data is available, we know that it is comparatively a safe drug, and it is more potent, and we have a lot of advantages and benefits of this drug. But even then, I think it's worthwhile to actually do a deep dive and to understand the adverse effects. If we don't get any adverse effects, that's good, but it's good to be to be vigilant from very beginning, and to assess our patients for any adverse effects. So as I already said, that because it is going to be our most common ARV drug, which will be used in the National AIDS Control Program over the time. So we want to be very have our guards in place from the very beginning. We should not land up in problem at a later stage. Then in the Indian population, because now it is being implemented in programs, so for the Indian population, we don't have any data about the toxicity profile. So we do not know how our population or how our patients will behave on this drug. And even from the real world, there are not many studies which have come from the real implementation. So most of the data which we have is from the trials and systematic reviews only. A very large study was done in Brazil, and it obviously it showed that the adverse effect of these drugs were very less. Only 2.24% of the patients or participants reported any kind of side effect, which is like comparatively very less. And now, like, no, I mean, WHO in its latest guidelines did mention about the weight gains, and it is coming as a signal, especially if it is being used with TAF. So this is a new signal which has come up, and it's better to be like vigilant about this signal and to monitor our patients about the increase in weights from very beginning. Then it is again like, no, obviously this is a new drug, so we do not know the long-term profile of the drug. So it is important to like, to understand the short-term, immediate, and long-term adverse effects of this drug on our population. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as you all know, and because we are like dealing with the COEs today and ART centers only, so you all know that all ARV drugs have some sort of side effects. So with any drug which you are using, the patients would report some level of side effects, and not all, but some of the patients might have some trouble and some side effects for the drugs. And most common reported adverse effects for ARV drugs are nausea, diarrhea, body ache, headache, fatigue, rash, or neuropsychiatric symptoms. So you all are like very well aware of these symptoms and which drugs cause these symptoms. Next slide. Previous one. With DTG, as I was saying, it's comparatively a new drug. We do not have much data available on the from the programmatic settings about the side effects or adverse effects of DTG. The information which we have available is like from Botswana, Brazil, and Kenya. And in Botswana, a cohort of 57,000 patients was followed after the start of the drug in May 2016, and only 1% of the patients showed any adverse effects. In Brazil, almost a cohort of 1 lakh patients was followed, and the overall adverse effect rate was only 2%. Kenya, a cohort of 11,000 patients was followed, and there the adverse effects were 7%. And next slide, please. Previous one. So Brazil, as I discussed, it was a big cohort where we got like nearly 2.24% side effects. And from the Brazil cohort, we know that the common side effects which were reported for this drug were nausea, diarrhea, headache, dizziness, insomnia, drowsiness, vomiting, itching, abdominal pain, and alopecia. But considering like only 2.24% patients had these side effects, and out of these 2.24% patients, nearly 89% of the patients did not had any serious side effects. So of the patients who had side effects, 88.73 were like non-serious side effects. 0.68% reported that their lives was put at risk. 0.99% patients had side effects which caused some persistent problem or severe disability. Only 1.42% patients required hospitalization, and 8.4% patients did not need any hospitalization, but even then it was thought like these side effects were severe enough. But when I'm talking about these percentages, please note this is out of that 2.24%. So this data is like 72,000 patients, and then of this only 2.24% patients had side effects, and of them most of the side effects were very mild, or they were not at all serious. Next slide. So in terms of monitoring for adverse effects, WHO actually recommends two approaches. One is called the routine monitoring, and the other is called the active monitoring. And routine monitoring is like basically done on a day-to-day basis at all the sites using the routine recording and reporting systems, and which you already like do when you document the adverse effects in the section 13 of the white card. So by default, or I mean historically, routine monitoring is anyways part of the national reporting system, and it's done, though we have some issues with the routine monitoring. And that's why this time we are planning for, at least when we are implementing the DTG based regimen, we are planning for some sort of active monitoring so that we don't miss on anything. What happens with routine monitoring at times, like say you have a busy OPD, you have patients coming in, at times it is very difficult to actively assess for any side effects. Even if you assess, you prescribe something, or you take some action, you forget to mention that in the white card, or it even if you mention that in white card, it is hardly reported to NACO. So it's very difficult to to make out or to interpret anything from the data which is reported, because we know there are gaps in routine monitoring. So this time at the 60 select sites, NACO is planning to do active monitoring, which is basically more of an intensified monitoring, where you do enhanced monitoring and data capturing, and you document all the information which comes from the patient, and then you will be reporting to NACO, which NACO would be analyzing. So we will be discussing about this plan today in more detail, and that's why in all the communications you might have seen this word active monitoring. So I hope you all are clear how it is, how this exercise is bit different, or it is sort of one level above the routine monitoring which is being done. So it actually it strengthens or builds on the same systems, but we want to be sure that we don't miss on any information, and the information is properly captured and analyzed and interpreted, and it is used by program. Next slide. So coming to the implementation plan for active monitoring of adverse effects. So this piece is being this activity is being implemented by NACO with the following objectives. First is to strengthen the existing routine system. So as I said, you all do routine monitoring, but we have gaps in it. So it is to strengthen the existing routine systems to detect, monitor, respond, and report the adverse effects of ARV drugs, all ARV drugs, but with a special focus on DTG. Then for DTG, we want to describe the frequency and the severity of the known and unknown adverse effects in the Indian population. First question would be are we getting any side effects? If yes, at what frequency, how common are these side effects, and what is the severity of these side effects? Third, we want to determine the association between adverse effects on, if the patients are having any adverse effects or when they are on DTG, so its effect or its association with retention in care, regimen substitution, and treatment outcomes. Next slide. So for the operational definition, this slide gives a snapshot of whatever we were discussing till now, and what do we mean by those terms. So I already explained about active monitoring. It means that all patients who would be enrolled or who would be initiated or transition to a DTG based regimen, they are proactively assessed. And when I'm saying assessed, means they are asked or observed, or they are examined, or maybe their caregiver might, or somebody or the patient or the relative might be reporting. So it means everything, you have to ask, observe, examine, or anything. If anything is being reported by the patient or the relative, that is part of the active monitoring. So you don't wait for the patient to complain, but every time the patient is coming to visit you, you have to actively ask the patient that, did you have any of the symptoms, did you had any of these signs? So, and we will discuss about this in detail. And if the patients are not coming, then a phone follow-up has to be done to do this active monitoring. Adverse effect means a response which is harmful or unintended, which occurs at doses normally used in humans for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy of disease, or for modification of the physiological function. So that means if you are using a therapeutic dose of a medicine, but even then, if the patient is complaining or reporting about any symptoms or signs, that would be an adverse effect. And it usually characterized by a causal relationship between the initiation of the drug and its occurrence. And then I use the term known adverse effects and unknown adverse effects. So known adverse effects is something which is already available in the literature. So when I was discussing about DTG, I told about insomnia is a common symptom. So this is something, this is a known adverse effect which is being reported like in the literature also. But for our population, we do not know, and again, it's a new drug, so everything is not established currently. So we might have some unknown adverse effects. So something like, no, I mean, when you start assessing your patient, something might come up, and this may not be like no available or described in the literature. So this would be a unknown adverse effect. So now coming to the implementation plan of for monitoring of adverse effects. So this, as I said, this is going to be a active monitoring, right? And when I'm saying active monitoring, that means you are actively asking your patients, following them up, and it will be like sort of a cohort monitoring. This is being done at all COEs, PCOEs, select ART plus centers, and ART centers. And which patients are to be monitored? So all the patients who will be newly initiated on DTG-based regimen or transition to a DTG-based regimen as part of first line, second line, or third line. So any patient, like, no, the day the patient is being like put on DTG-based regimen for any reason, whether it is like no new initiation or it is substitution or a switch, and it could be like first line, second line, or third line, all patients are to be monitored. And for monitoring, so all patients who will be like registered from Monday onwards for next 3 months would be actively monitored. And the follow-up period is going to be 2 years. So all the patients who would be like started on DTG-based regimen in February, from 8th February, March, April, May, all these patients would be followed up for next 12 months in an active manner. Frequency of monitoring would be that for first 6 months, we do a monthly monitoring, and then a quarterly monitoring would be required after 6 months. Um, and how do you collect the information? How do you do the documentation? So that is basically done in the patient treatment cards or the white cards, which are already available with you. And then other than that, we for this exercise specifically, a standardized AE monitoring form will be introduced, and we will discuss about this form in detail in the later slides. For reporting, this data has to be like reported to NACO in Excel-based format, which we are calling as AE reporting tool. And this reporting has to be done by 5th of every month. And for first 3 months, NACO would expect that a weekly report is sent, or this tool, which is a monitoring tool in the Excel sheet, is shared with NACO on a weekly basis. And here you can see the mail ID on which you have to send this information: aemonitoring.naco@gmail.com. So all these slides will be available to you, and even the SOPs are available with you. So all this information is like available, and you can even refer to this at a later stage. Next slide. For analysis, the analysis will be done by NACO, and NACO would be sending feedback to all the sites which are participating on any major finding, or if there is a deviation in any finding, or there's any like uh, point of interest for corrective action or follow-up action. Also, there would be quarterly meeting of all the stakeholders in which NACO, SACS, COE, PCOE, and the technical partners would be participating. And the purpose of these meetings would be to update everyone with the findings on the quarterly basis, like whatever has come out in the data in that particular quarter would be discussed. Then to compare the adverse effects and their frequency, that would be discussed in these meetings. To assess signals, because a signal is an information which is arising from multiple sources. So I mean, as we were discussing about the unknown adverse effect, so to call something as adverse effect, it has to come out first as a signal. So we might get some prompts or some signals initially, and if it comes from like from multiple sites, then we might say, okay, like in our population we are getting this signal, and then a more in-depth review or more systematic studies would be required to establish that whether that signal is a adverse effect or not. Then to discuss the case studies, because you might be getting some complicated cases or very different kind of adverse effects also. So those will be discussed in quarterly meetings, and also the follow-up actions. Next slide. So through this activity, NACO plans to study the following indicators, which are like proportion of PLHIV who report any adverse effect. Then to understand the severity, like whether these adverse effects are mild, moderate, or they're severe. Then to understand the average or the median time interval between the start of a DTG-based regimen and the appearance of a adverse effect. Average change in weight or BMI, because again, this is coming as a signal. Then, as Dr. Melissa initially said, like there was a signal that this drug might cause the neural tube defects in the babies born to mothers who are exposed to DTG-based regimen at the time of conception. Though, with the latest data, the risk does not seem to be that significant. But there's no harm, in documenting this also when we are doing this study. Then, percentage of the patients retained on ART after 6 months, 12 months, and 24 months. Virally suppressed at 6, 12, and 24 months. And then the percentage of patients who are part of this activity who required a change in the regimen because they had severe or grade 4 side effects. Next slide. So for roles and responsibilities, the main role of SACS would be to coordinate with NACO, COEs, ART centers for smooth implementation of this activity, coordination and participation in the trainings, review of the patient records for completeness during the supportive supervision visit. So whenever SACS officials are going to these sites, they should review the AE forms and white cards whether this activity is going in a smooth manner or not. Participate in the quarterly review meetings, and ensure that the DTG-based regimen are available at the sites which are participating in this activity. So that continuity is very important. For COE, PCOEs, ART Plus, and ART centers, basically this activity is implemented through these sites. So they have to implement this activity, actively detect, manage, record, and report adverse effects. Basically, the program director and the deputy program director at the COEs will guide and supervise this activity. Then COE and PCOEs are also expected to participate in the quarterly meeting, provide inputs based on the local experience or new findings, facilitate case discussions, and share reports with NACO in a timely manner. And for the overall responsibilities would be with the program director or deputy program director at the COE and PCOE. And for the ART Plus centers and ART centers, the responsibility or the overall in charge of the activities would be the nodal officers. So I think because if there are no burning questions, we could move to the next section. But if there are some questions, we could take them.
Hello.
Yeah.
Dr. Kameso from PCOE Imphal.
Yes, sir.
Madam, DTG we are at present giving at bedtime. So if a patient develops some sort of insomnia, complaining, then can we change to some other daytime, or what is the best time in those cases complaining of insomnia for giving DTG?
Yeah, of course, sir. I think when this guidance was given, it was given because habitually and we were doing in most cases, we were doing the transitions from existing regimen. People were habitual of taking TLE at night, and that's why the easy would be not to deviate them from that habit. So it was advised that they could take it at night, but DTG based regimen can be taken at any time of the day. It doesn't matter. So it can be given in morning also. So based on your patient's requirement, their work schedules, you could actually discuss with the patients and suggest them an optimal time.
One by one case, okay. Patient by patient.
Sure. So, right.
Only when they
or
some problem.
Right.
Okay.
So if there are any questions
Dr. Reshu,
related to this activity, yeah.
Dr. Samina here. I just wanted
Yes,
to
Dr.
know, you just mentioned that we'll be reporting, following up with the patients initially on the monthly basis. Okay. So this is
Right.
okay for the newly initiated, but what about the stable patients? We are transitioning from ZLN and TLE to DTG based regimen, because we were told in the programmatic setting, if the patient is stable, we are going to follow the multi-month dispensation. For
Yeah,
what do we do for those
sure.
patients?
So, Dr. Samina, for the patients who are on multi-month dispensations, or who are on decentralized models, their phone follow-up has to be done on a monthly basis, and the data has to be documented in the white card and AE form. We will have
Yeah,
discuss this in
ठीक
detail
ठीक.
in later
Thanks for
slide.
clarification. Yeah.
So I think, like, in the interest of time, could we move to the next section on recording and reporting, and then we can come back to the questions,
Please.
right? Dr. Ramesh, over to you.
Yeah, so good afternoon all. I want all of you to open up the hard copies. So if you have your hard copies, you can make use of it from now. So the initial slides will be on how do we document it in the white card. This is not new for you all, but again, to emphasize on the regimen changes that we are having now, mostly from the DTG based to the DTG based regimens. So if there is a change, either it is a transition or a substitution or a switch, all these should be noted in the white card in section 6 that you are seeing in the highlighted version. Now, if you zoom it up, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a blown up version of the section number 6, where if you are having a PLHIV who is suppressed on the current regimen, and here you are mostly transitioning it, and then if you have somebody failing it, then you call it as a virological failure and then switch that patient, or else you're transitioning him. So these are the nomenclatures that we are going to use here. And then all these should be nicely ticked up in the white card in the section 6, what we are doing for any other drug. Next slide. Yeah, this again, section number 9, you see on the medical history, which is important for us now while we document the adverse effect monitoring. We want to know whether the patients are on have any other existing comorbidities or any other medical condition that requires him to take other medications. So that part can come here. If you are able to see here, medical history, section number 9, here you have the NCDs, that is the non-communicable diseases, mostly like diabetes, hypertension, stroke, any other. You can check it off, and we can also put up when was it diagnosed, what is the treatment, what is the treatment medication pills that the patient is taking. So all that can be part of this white card itself. So we are not introducing any new formats, how to, where to document this in the existing white card itself. There is a place where you will have to do this. Next slide, please. And in the white card, section number 12 is for all investigations, right from viral load to any other investigation. We have most of them here. If there is something additional, we can put it up. Like if you're not using any column for Kala Azar in some places or pap smear, there you can put up that specific investigation and write it. Next slide. This is the follow-up one, which usually seen by the medical officer. And here you are noting the opportunistic infection codes that we have down, and what is the drug being prescribed, CPT, IPT. These are very essential as we need to identify what could be the other potential sources for the drug-drug interactions. And you see section number 15 and 16 again, we have a column here on ART side effects, and the codes are also listed below. And as we go further, we'll see that there are other codes that we need to put them, and the remarks. So the remarks column, you use it if you have anything additional to write it there. So with the existing tool, that is a white card that we have a place to write our side effects. We have a place to see what are the other IPT or CPT or any other opportunistic infection and its treatment, whether the patient is getting. And we are writing on the comorbidities on NCDs. So most of the data that we will require while we are monitoring actively this adverse events of patients on dolutegravir based regime, it should be part of the white card. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here we will describe one specific tool or the data entry tool that we are having, and we will also have a form. So there are two things, don't get confused. Now we are dealing adverse event monitoring form. So this is a form which you have in front of you in a Word document. And this adverse effect monitoring form will be for each patient. There will be one form, and you will have to keep documenting in this form on almost around for 2 years. That is, when the patient, if you are enroll him over 24 months period, we are going to collect this information, and the frequency as discussed by Dr. Reshu, it will be initially monthly and later on you will have it for every quarter. But later on, when we go through the sheet, you will find that there are only specific things and there is codes given to this. And while we go through the next slides, I want you also to open up and put before you the code guidance sheet that is also shared with you along with the same adverse event monitoring form. There is a code guidance sheet that is going to help you to determine what is that guidance for each of the codes that we have. So with this, the core responsibility and the accountability of this activity also lies with the research officer, and we will see in the next slides what if it is vacant, who is going to do that. PCOE, it is MND and research officer. We will see in the subsequent slides the responsibility matrix. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the first section, and in your sheets, this is the first part that is from the serial number 1 to serial number 16. So here we have already this information that we already have with us in the white card. That is the facility name, enrollment, patient ART number, ART start date, gender, typology. So here typology we have given as FSW, MSM, IDU, transgender. So this should be specifically ticked for people whom we know that they are from key population groups. Baseline weight, height, and the blood sugar of the baseline and blood pressure. So there are certain things that we actually need to do and record it. For example, blood pressure, you cannot take whatever is there in the white card some 2 years or 3 years back and write the same thing here. So there should be some actively taking weight for every visit and blood pressure being monitored and being documented here. And 13th section, the serial number 13, please look into that. If there is a pregnant woman at a baseline or during the monitoring period, we need to know the last menstrual period and we need to know the outcomes of this. So this is again a specific area that we have been discussing earlier also on how do we look at the outcomes of pregnancy among patients who are on DTG based regimen. So there is a specific column for that, and subsequently we will have a section on it. And comorbidities. This is again very important. Why we are having this, if you understand, is we also want to know the drug interactions that could potentially have. And so we want to note down what are the comorbidities and what are the medications that the patient is on. And SMO or the medical officer should actively elicit the names of those drugs here. So it's going to be very important. This is not part, we did not have any experience in India, and that's why we are moving forward. So wealth of information, it's going to help us in future. Wherever there are some instances, we can look into any interactions between the drugs. So it is always encouraged by the medical officer to elicit what are the names of the drugs. Next slide, please. Right. Now, this section, from 17 to 25, we have, if you have a hard copy in front of you. Now, listen very carefully to the serial number 17. The type of patient. So whether this patient is a new patient, when I say new patient, he's newly initiated on ART, okay? And it is that time DTG based regimen is being initiated in this patient. And substitution to DTG based first line. So this patient who was maybe under transition, now he is being substituted here. Second line ART, or it is substitution to a second line or third line substitution. So here we are only taking patients who are on DTG and who and don't take any older patients here. That is who is started today, you cannot, or 2 months back who is already on third line. So from now on, all new cases, wherever they fall into, if it is a new case that is newly initiation on DTG, should be in the first one. And respectively, whoever is going to be initiated on second line, third line, or it is a substitution to DTG based. So all these should be recorded here. Now, we have also given the regimen codes. So before this patient was transitioned to DTG, what was the regimen the patient was on? For example, a patient was on TLE, and from tomorrow he is going to be substituted or transitioned to a DTG based regimen. So the TLE should be coming there. Now for that, we don't want you to write, and we will have different connotations whenever we write. Some is write ABC, some will write only lamivudine 3TC. So there are specific codes given to that. If you go to the code box 1, so in the code box 1, you will see, for example, if a patient is on abacavir, lamivudine, and efavirenz as a previous regimen, you will write there 1. So that's it you have to do for the previous regimen. So it is very important to have these codes ready as a ready reckoner in front of the whoever is filling up this AE form. Then the second one is new DTG based regimen. So this is the next box number 2. You can select from there. If you see that box, we have 5 regimens where we have DTG as one of the drugs in it. So accordingly, we need to put up that particular serial number. The option here, is it A, B, or C? Then next, coming to the current side effects what the patient is having. So for that, again, we have listed all the side effects, and most of them, if you observe from serial number 1 to serial number 21, we already have in the existing white card. And newly, some of them we need to have, that is from 22 to 31, where we have to additionally put them up as part of the AE monitoring. So these are the codes that you will select for the side effects. And then once I know, for example, now you have ticked here, a patient is coming with diarrhea. I have ticked. What is the code that we will put if he's coming with diarrhea? Can somebody put on the chat? You just refer to your code guidance sheet. A patient is presenting with diarrhea currently. Yeah, good. So 3 is the code that we will do. Now, once I know what is the code and what is that current side effect, now I will also see what is the grade of that event. Now, for the grading, we also have in the last page, that is in page number 6. If this patient is presenting with 3 to 4 loose stools, then we say that this patient is in grade 1. So this is how you will have to link your severity or the adverse event grading with what is that adverse event. So that is how we will have to do it. Please go back to the previous slide. Yeah. And then we also need to know from when was this adverse event. Suppose it is from last 3 days, then we put the month and the year of it. Date of onset, MMDD format. So this is the crux of what we are reporting here, because we need to know currently what it is, Only when you know at the baseline what they are, then we can see whether there is progression of these events, number one. Number two, you also want to record whether there is any other symptom that is coming newly. That's why we want the date of it, the grade of it. So even if you just say it is diarrhea, it's not going to help the national program or NACO to identify what is the severity of this and how frequently it is occurring, and is it coming in what proportion of patients. So for all that, we need a really robust data, and that's why COE is it's our mandate to have that robustness in our data collection. So don't leave any element unattended, and active monitoring is what we are talking here. So Dr. Resha had emphasized on that when it is active monitoring, we need to follow up each patient every time. So if a patient is coming after that, now has the patient missed any doses of ARV due to these symptoms? So now, again, we need to elicit, once they ask about current side effects, now we are also asking about, has the patient missed any doses of ARV because of this? If they say yes, then you also, and we also have to note what are the number of doses missed. Don't just ask a half question, and this is all active monitoring. Now, see, for the comorbidities, we have a box again, code number box 3. There we have most of the most common ones, but there is also a space for us to put in others and try to name them. Just don't tick off others and leave it, but we need to mention what it is. And then after taking this, what is the medications if their patient is taking any concomitant medications or not? Again, we have given here most common ones, whether it is anti-tuberculous treatment, IPT, CPT, anti-diabetic, multivitamins, antacids, all these need to be mentioned. And as I told you, we need to specify the drug as much as possible, elicited by the medical officer, and you can mention it in the first part of the report itself, that is in serial number 18 itself. Near in that column we can mention it. So once you have taken this and the patient is being monitored actively, finally we also want to know whether the patient was hospitalized for that side effect or not. If it is severe diarrhea and there is so much of dehydration caused due to this cumulative effect of this drug, then all these events will be monitored very specifically for at each of the time whenever we have an interaction with the patient. It can be both through a call or a face-to-face interaction with the patient, but it has to be very systematically asked. Then we have the lab investigations and the follow-up outcomes. This is another final box that we have, is on the follow-up outcomes. For example, we have two outcomes, that is whether that adverse event is improving, that is still defined as decreasing or in the grade of toxicity, or there is an improvement based on the lab markers, or the patient is reporting less intensity or severity. And if it is resolved, that means it has completely resolved and the lab marker has come back to its normal. So this is how we are defining it, as whether that AE is improving, adverse event is improving, or it is completely resolved. Or we also have some other outcomes like recovered with a sequelae, died due to the adverse reaction, and any others. So these are again very important to determine what is the outcome of that adverse event monitoring that we are having. To the patient level, has it improved or not? And then we have the status of the patient. Again, you see it. What we are writing in the status is, you see in box number 5, whether the patient was alive on ART while he is on this AE monitoring. This is the final outcome that we usually give as part of outcome of antiretroviral therapy. So these are the outcomes that we have. Don't confuse with follow-up outcomes and the status. So follow-up outcomes are like whether the patient is improving or whether there is a recovery with a sequelae. So all these form the follow-up outcomes. And for the status of the patient, these are our usual status that we give for a patient who is on antiretroviral therapy. So whenever you need a lab investigation to do that, we have to definitely put on the lab investigations in this monitoring tool. So, and you see this form should be filled every interaction that we have with the patient, and that is for every monthly for the first 6 months and then every quarter. So it is very important, as we told, as the previous slides we have mentioned, that a monitoring system of completeness of this AE form is very important. So until now, what you're seeing now on the screen is again the code boxes that we have described. We can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Yeah. So this is the definition that we are having on grading of the adverse event. That is from grade 1 mild, grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4. We need to categorize most of the OIs into these 4 so that we know what type of a reaction is that particular adverse event causing. Next. Right. So there are 2 things that we need to remember. One is AE form. So until now we have seen an AE form which will go into the white card. As is, this sheet will go into the white card, so that every month whenever you have an interaction, it is being filled. Now what is the tool? So AE monitoring tool is an Excel based one. So this is a tool which will be maintained by the data analyst at COE primarily, and PCOE is a PCOE coordinator. And exceptions or wherever vacant, we will see in the subsequent slides. But the primary responsibility will be given to one of the staff of PCOE and COE. Next slide. So you see that this is an Excel-based tool. Can we directly open the Excel?
Sir, I'm just sharing the screen again.
Yeah. Those who have that tool, you can open the tool.
Sir, is it
Right.
visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this, I told you the source of this information, whatever we are filling, is the AE form. So if your form is incomplete, your tool will also be incomplete, because every data element that you are getting is primarily from the AE form, and the white card also. As we subsequently move, we will understand that primarily you have AE form as the source of this tool, and the second one is the white card. So from the column number 1 to 11 almost, you will get it whenever you are enrolling a patient for the first time. So these information, again, you can get it from the same AE form, that is serial number 1 to serial number 16 of the white card. And sorry, from the AE form. And you also have some drop-in to facilitate easy data entry. So all these from column number 1 to column number 14. Can you move further? Yes. So until here, along with the comorbidities, we are going to fill up whenever the patient is initially. And the only source that you have for this is the AE form. Next slide. Sorry. Yeah. Now coming to the type of patient, can you click on that cell, please? Yeah. On row number 1 or 2, put the cursor there. Is it not a drop down?
No, sir. It's like this.
Go,
Okay.
go to row number 7.
Yeah. See now the type of patient. So we have given all the codes so that it is easy for the person who is entering this tool, so that you have a standardized one. So if it's a new patient or new initiation, it will only be a new initiation. So don't tamper with this tool that whatever NACO is providing, because otherwise all these automations will move out, and for NACO to analyze every month and share the data back with the sites, it's going to be difficult. So then see current regimen again. You can, yeah. So all what we have in our box number 1 to box number 8 that we have discussed how to fill with these codes, all these codes are part of the drop down menu that you have under their corresponding columns. So column number 20 again, see again column number 21, new regimen, that will also have a drop down menu. So most of it we try to put it easy for the data entry. Then next. So after that again we need to write the date weight. You can again see, for example, column number AC or column number 28. 28. Yeah. So again you have what are those side effects. So mostly it is that height, weight, these are the things that you're going to have. And we also have put some internal validations. For example, if you are punching in the date as 2000, if you put the month first, it's not going to take, it will give you something else. So there are some internal validations also put in this Excel sheet. So do not disturb the sheet in any form. So these are the current OIs that you are seeing. That is, we are seeing serial number 20. Okay, next. Go to the right, please. Yeah. So any other comorbidities, for example, column number 39. Here, so here again we have the comorbidities. What are those? So whenever you say other specified, there only you can enter something else. Otherwise, there is no chance that you can actually punch in anything. So for that, you have to go to others and then do it. Next slide. Sorry, go to the right. So these are all self-explanatory if you have understood the AE form. And the only thing what you have to do is every month or every interaction with the patient, you will be only filling now this green part. For example, the green color, what you are seeing are the columns that you will be filling whenever you actually have an interaction with the patient. And for example, if you see here, the action taken in column number 43, if there is a regimen change, okay, the next column you should definitely put it up here. What is that regimen? And you and an internal validation is such that you cannot go to column 45 if you can't fill column 44. So those type of things are inbuilt in order to prevent very less data errors. Next, please go to the right. The last one. Right. See here. Now again, physical assessment or lab investigations if applicable. So this again needs to come down here very clearly. What are the LFTs? What is the test that they have done? So clearly it has to come in the section under liver function tests. You see here column number 54, it is the ART status. So suppose if a patient is missed during that month to take his pills, there was an interaction made, but you will have to account it under MESS. Okay. So some of the things are mostly self-explanatory, and please utilize the code books very frequently for the next 1 month as we start to do from the next Monday, because this is the first time we are doing it, and to get a hang of all the side effects, which drugs which one to put it. It is very essential that we refer to this, all the guidance provided by NACO as part of the attachments for this one. And for every interaction that we have with the patient, you will have to have this specific color fill. For example, in the first month, that is in the green color one, there is a gap to fill up an adverse event. But that adverse event occurred in the next month. So you have to go to only that blue color columns and fill it up. You cannot say it is an OI there and sorry, it is an adverse event and you cannot fill it in the first month. So it is very important for you to follow this clear guidance. Every interaction, you will have to have a separate color code that you need to follow. Whatever is being followed in the Excel sheet, you have to go there and do it, unless it is the same visit where there is a continuation of it. So please mind that. Otherwise, I think COE staff are mostly looking into this data, and you all know how to have the outcomes being enlisted here. Next slide, Divya, after this. Next slide. We'll go back to the slide presentation. Yeah, so we have seen all these now. So the first section, mostly for the one time you need to fill it, and later on the size of the sheet may be long, but what you can appreciate is hardly around 6 variables we are filling in. And whenever a patient is presenting, we are detailing that particular OI, that particular adverse event into both severity, the onset, the date of it, and which grade, whether hospitalized or not, and what is the outcome. So these 6 things are the things that we are monthly monitoring. Otherwise, it's not too long. And since we have given space for 2 or 3 adverse events per each month, the size has increased. But don't get overwhelmed by looking at the spreadsheet. It is so long, so many variables need to be punched in. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so every month. So I showed you in the Excel sheet that you have different colors for every month to punch in. Next slide. Yeah, broadly, these are the 2 tools that we have. So one is the AE monitoring tool, and the other one is the AE form. AE form in the white card, and AE tool will be in the Excel sheet. So if there are any very quick questions here, we can have 1 minute, or we'll continue with the next session.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, Professor Kameswar again. Actually, I'm discussing with my senior medical officer that multi-month dispensing of DTC should not be done. But previous one participant asked about the multi-month dispensing. So Madam was answering that over the phone you can ask the side effect, because we cannot do that, because we have to record the weight and the blood pressure. So I think for TLD or the dolutegravir days regimens, they have to come every month, so that AE and the recording of weight and the blood pressure is being done. Is not it, sir?
Yeah, so regarding your question, there is our NACO has a clear guidance, no sir, so we need to follow that. And what we are saying is, for patients who are already on 3 months dispensation, if we are going to start any patient on 3 months dispensation, we are anyhow going to take his baseline things and then do it. And over phone, we are collecting the information on the critical side effects. So that is the plan that we have from NACO to do it. And there is no guidance on should not put any patient on DTG, sir.
My question is, in that AE form, you are having monitoring of weight and the blood pressure every month. So if you give
Correct.
3 months MMD drug, then it will not be possible.
So this activity is, does not deny the standard care to any patient. So because we want to monitor somebody, we would not refuse MMD or differentiated care to that patient. Whatever variables we are able to collect through phone, we will be collecting. And on the
blood pressure.
Yes, sir.
Blood pressure, because in that AE form, there is column 1, 2, 3 blood pressure and the weight.
So basically, when you start a new patient, so anyway, for new patients, anyways, for 6 months, they will not be eligible for multi-month dispensation.
Okay.
Now talking about the existing patients, so the patients who are substituted, that means they are stable on the current regimen and they are put on DTG, they are still eligible for multi-month dispensation and the differentiated care or the Link ART center model.
So
but if the patient is switched,
A form fill up.
They are exempted from the aid form or not?
so they will anyways be coming, if they are at Link ART center, their information can be collected from Link ART center. And if they are on a multi-month dispensation,
PCOE. So whether this AE form monitoring to be done from those clients on multi-month dispensing, this is the question. Because in the AE form, there is column for recording of weight and the blood pressure month-wise, every month.
so that's something desirable. But because we have to fill up this form, we don't want to deny benefits of multi-month dispensation or differentiated care to any patient.
That means
So,
if the clients use multi-month dispensing, then we have to we are not filling up the weight and the blood pressure monthly.
So we will not fill up that information, and we can write like the patient is on multi-month dispensation.
Okay.
And if the patient is at Link ART center, we can still fill up. We can take this information from Link ART centers.
How Link ART center, they are also giving multi-month dispensing.
Yeah.
So that's fine. We can collect quarterly.
Okay, thank you.
So should we move to the next section?
Just for information, the Excel tool is right now we have not shared with everyone. So after the training, we'll be sending the Excel to all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Divya. So I think that am I sounding right?
It's okay.
Or
No, it's okay.
okay, right. Coming to the next section, the standard operating procedures. So, we already discussed about the implementation plan, like what all is to be done in this activity and how we are recording and reporting. Now, in terms of the flow of patients and the roles and responsibilities of the staff. So the overall responsibility for this activity for the Centers of Excellence and Pediatric Center of Excellence is with the program director or the deputy program director. And if your center is only an ART center, then with the nodal officer. However, for the day-to-day activity, the focal points of this exercise would be research officer at the COEs, MNE and research officers at PCOEs, and senior medical officer or MO in charge at the ART centers. Right. And in terms of the day-to-day, sorry, go back to the previous slide. So in terms of the day-to-day work or follow-ups, this is basically to ensure that the patients are enrolled in this activity. They are actively monitored during each visit for the adverse effects. Then these patients are managed as per the NACO guidelines for the if they are having any adverse effects. So we have to follow the guidelines. Then coordinate with the respective staff that the documentation is being done in the AE tool and the AE form. Ensure completion of the relevant sections in the white card, which is very important. And as Dr. Ramesh discussed, most of the information is like coming from white card, and then like it will be like sort of replicated into the AE tool from the white card. So it is very important that whatever sections, each section of the white card is very important, but the sections which were highlighted in the previous slides on the white card needs to be like, you have to ensure that those sections are filled up. Then ensure completion of the AE forms and AE monitoring tool. If there are like some unusual cases, complicated cases, or something which you think like you don't see in your daily practice, something different has come up, or where you need like more guidance from experts, for those cases, case studies are to be like prepared. And then you have to ensure that the adverse AE form or adverse effect monitoring form is attached with the white card of the patient. So it has to be like attached or annexed in the white card itself. And then the reports have to be shared with NACO on a timely basis. So these are like basically the day-to-day responsibilities or for this activity. Next slide. So in terms of recording and reporting, we already discussed that two new things are being introduced. So white card is anyways the standard recording tool at all ART centers. So that has to be filled up by the staff as is done. So there is no change in the patient flow. So like the way the staff nurse, the counselor, and the medical officers, they fill up the white card, that has to be done in the same routine manner, but it has to be ensured that all the relevant information is documented in the white card. Other than white card, the other two things which are being like introduced in this activity are basically AE form, which is a Word document, as Dr. Ramesh discussed, and the AE tool, which is a Excel-based document for reporting, and the information from Excel form would be entered into the AE tool. So for this form, at the COEs, for the AE form, at the COEs, research officer would be responsible. At PCOE, MNE, and the research officer, and at the ART centers, SACS would designate a counselor or a staff nurse to ensure that these forms are filled up. For the AE tool, at the COEs, data analyst will do it. At the PCOEs, PCOE coordinator, and at the ART centers, the data manager or the data entry operator has to do it. Also, these forms, especially as we said, like the AE form, which is a Word document, and it has to be kept in hard copies with the white card. And as you know, that white card have to be like kept securely for all the patients. AE tool is to be maintained only in the soft copies, and it must be stored in the password protected system in your like ART center or the COE computers, and they should have like limited access or like password should be, it has to be like password protected anyhow, because we will be like having patient data, and there are like issues with the confidentiality of the patient data. Right, next slide. So for the COEs and PCOEs, we actually collected the information about the positions which are filled up. This slide shows, because in many of the centers, as we initially said, that the AE form would be the responsibility. At the COEs, the focal point would be the research fellow, and then the AE form will be the responsibility of the research fellow, and then the data AE tool would be done by the data analyst. But we see that in many of the centers, the positions of research fellow or research officers are not filled up, and so we have like mapped the staff which is available currently with the COEs, and this table shows you that who is going, in case these positions are vacant, who would do the gap filling. So like for GSTM, the positions of research fellow, clinical, non-clinical, data analyst, all are like vacant. So SACEP coordinator and the nutritionist will do the exercise. And here we have like to mention T, P, and F. P means the focal point for this activity. F means that you have to fill up the AE form, and T means that you have to maintain the AE tool. So for each of the COEs in this slide, you can see your names, and I think also the staff is like present in this training. And if you have any concerns, we can discuss with NACO, and like we can also like revisit this plan. But this is the plan which stands good for now. Next slide. So similarly, we did the same exercise for PCOEs, and again, you can see like some of the positions are vacant at PCOEs also, and so this is how this activity would be implemented at PCOE. So you can see your names that where your name appears and what would be your responsibility. Right, but again, I would want to reiterate here that this is the team activity. So we are just like mentioning the additional responsibilities which are to be done with this with respect to this exercise. But otherwise, like your routine patient care and doing this activity is a teamwork. So, and it has, I mean, the way you like to do the patient care as a team, that has to be continued, and that's why like for this training we invited all the staff from the COE as well as the attached ART centers. So COE and ART centers, or PCOEs and ART centers, they have to work as one team for this exercise. Next slide. So in terms of patient flow, so again, as I said, the normal flow of the patient is to be maintained. All the standard of care which is provided to all patients, that has to be done. All documentation, everything which is done for the patients is to be done. But these things what we are discussing in these slides are the additional steps or the complementary steps. So the overall and that's why you don't see all the stuff being mentioned on this slide. But the staff you have counselor playing their role, staff nurse doing their work, data managers doing their work, lab technicians doing their work, care coordinator doing their work. So all that will still remain true. So everyone is involved in this activity. So just don't feel that my position is not there, so that means I don't have to do anything with this. You still have to do whatever you were doing, and that's how you will help or support this activity, and everyone is to be involved. And in case you don't have even whatever the suggested stuff we are making responsible for the additional activities, still as a team you will have to do the gap filling. So when you on the day of when you initiate a patient, or when you shift or substitute or switch a patient to a DTG based regimen, that's the first day when you start starting doing the active monitoring for DTG in that patient. So on that day, other than the routine things which are done, medical officer will do the complete all the details in the white card, but in addition he will attach the AE form to the white card. And also in the AE form, serial number 13, that's these were the information you would remember from the Dr. Ramesh slide, that these are the one-time information which are to be filled up. So these are some of the additional information which are not routinely available in white card, or we still want to be sure that this information is correctly filled up in the AE form. So section 3, section 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, which is the initial information, has to be filled by the medical officer in the AE form also. Also, medical officer has to ensure that the weight, height, BP, blood pressure, and other investigations are done as per the NACO guidelines. And then this patient has to be referred or has to be sent to the research officer or the designated counselor or staff nurse who is supposed to fill up the AE form in your ART center or in your COE or PCOE. Now, this research officer or designated counselor or staff nurse is supposed to fill up to update the serial number 1 to 12 of the AE form. So this serial number 1 to 12, this information is also available in the white card, and from the white card you have to just enter this information to complete your AE form. So from 1 to 12 you will just from the white card pull this information and document in the AE form. Okay, and then follow up with the medical officer for appropriate action if if any of the information which is which is to be filled by the medical officer, if that is not there, so please do remind the medical officer that this information is missing. Then they have to be also ensure that whatever lab investigations were to be done as per the guidelines, that are being done, and then the patient is sent to the pharmacist to collect the drugs, and now patient can go home, so patient is not needed anymore. And the data analyst or the data manager at the ART center would from the AE form, they would enter the data into AE tool, which is a Excel-based tool, which was discussed in the previous slides in detail. And the white card, after filling up the AE tool, white card along with the AE form will be handed over to the care coordinator for arranging along with the white cards itself. Next slide. Now for the follow-ups. Now that was the first visit, initial visit, when the patient was started on a DTG-based regimen. Now the patient would be coming back to you after a month. So during that visit, the staff nurse is supposed to update the weight and blood pressure of the patient and height in children every 3 months. Then you have to ensure that all the information regarding the lab test is duly filled in the white cards and then send the patient to the medical officer. Again, this is in addition to the respective duties of counselor and the staff nurse. Then the medical officers will probe actively and assess for the side effects. So we are if you have seen the SOPs, and I'll discuss in detail, we are giving you a job aid also, and based on that job aid, every time the patient is coming to you, the medical officer has to assess actively for adverse effect, and your guiding questions would be, did you experience any symptoms since the ART initiation or since the last visit? Are you experiencing any new symptoms? Have you ever skipped any dose because of the adverse effect? So these are the questions you have to ask your patient whenever they are coming back to you. And then the medical officer will send the patient to the research officer or the designated counselor or staff nurse. And now this person would fill up the information in the AE form from serial number 21 to 28. And this is basically about the side effects. And also follow up with the medical officer for any missing information. So if the information is not filled up in the white card, then the research officer would ask the medical officer. For the patients who are on multi-month dispensation, a monthly call has to be made, and the required information has to be documented in the AE form. Same will hold true for the patients who are at Link ART centers. And then from this AE form, the data analyst or the data manager would enter the data into the Excel tool or the AE tool. Next slide. So suppose now you will have some scenarios. I mean, obviously we were discussing about the ideal scenarios, but if your patient does not come back on the due date, in this case, the patient has to be called by the counselors, and for the COEs, the outreach workers are supposed to support this activity. Okay, and they should be reminding the patient of their due date and come back to the answer. And during the call, they should also actively assess for AE if the patient is having any adverse effect or not. Okay, and if the patient is giving you some updated contact details, if the phone number of the patient has changed or address has changed, that information has to be updated in the white card. And then if the patient does not come within 7 days of the due date, then the list has to be given to the VHAN outreach workers. So this is whenever the patient misses the due date, so this action has to be done on the same day. Now, if your patient does not, because as we discussed, our reporting would be the 5th of every or 5th of next month. So for the month of February, your report would be sent to NACO by 5th of March. So if your patient who was due in February does not come by 5th of March, for this kind of patient, the information is not filled up in the AE tool, then the research officer or the data manager would pull out that list from the AE tool and ask for the white cards of this patient, and based on the information which is given in the white card of the patient, whether this patient is missed or LFU or he's transferred out or he has opted out, so whatever information, or he has died, whatever information is available in the white card, that information has to be updated from the white card in the AE form as well as in the AE tool. Next slide. For reporting, as we discussed, so all the reports in the form of the AE tool are to be shared with NACO at this given mail ID. This is a dedicated mail ID for this activity. And when you're sending your reports, the subject line should be the name of your ART center, the city or the district, then the reporting month. So for like, if it is like MEMC ART center, so you'll write ARTC, MEMC, Delhi, and then followed by the reporting month, March 2021, if it is a March report. Person responsible. So as we said, the focal point of the activity would be responsible. So if this staff is available, that's fine. Otherwise, the staff which we mapped, that staff would be sending these reports to NACO. For the frequency, for first 3 months, the reports are to be sent on a weekly basis and then every 5th month. So I think this is all from our side. If you have any queries, feel free to reach back to us on this on the same mail ID, or maybe even telephonically, and we will open for questions now.
Ma'am, there are a few questions in the chat box also, if those can be answered.
Divya, could you read those questions, because I think I
Yeah,
had to
sure.
log in again.
Yeah, sure. So there was one question. Out of 540 patients put on TLD, 8 got drug-induced hyperglycemia, 3 had hepatotoxicity, and 3 had renal toxicity. So if the patient is reporting 2 to 3 side effects during his visit, then is there any provision in the Excel sheet to take 2-3 side effects together?
Yes, so there's provision in the tool to capture more than one side effect also. Right?
Okay,
I
so
think
there is
that's the
one.
question, no?
Yeah. So there is one more question. When is this to be rolled out?
This has to be rolled out from coming Monday, that is 8th of February.
How to monitor LAC patients on DTG-based regimen?
So I think we discussed that.
Already
So
answered.
so if the patient is on multi-month dispensation, then a phone call has to be going. But if the patient is coming on for the monthly dispensations, then the data can be collected from Link ART Center plus the phone call.
Madam, hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, please.
Madam, I had put the question. 540 patients we had put on TLD, and out of that, before 20th, means this is between July and December. And out of that, 8 patients had drug-induced hyperglycemia.
Yeah.
And 3 patients we had to change their regimen because of hepatotoxicity. So if we are going to give multi-month dispensation, how are we going to monitor these patients? None of these patients had any symptoms. They were all picked up by investigations.
So ma'am, when I said multi-month dispensation, I'm not saying that you have to do multi-month dispensation for all your patients. I just want that we have to be in sync with the national guidelines. And if a patient is eligible for multi-month dispensation, we could consider that patient for multi-month dispensation. And because this person is under our active monitoring, we shouldn't deny multi-month dispensation to this patient if the patient still qualifies to be stable.
Madam, I have one suggestion that can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead, please. Yes, sir.
See, regarding the side effects of the drug, it is important to know that the side effect is because of the drug, or is it because of some other comorbidities or some other diseases which the patient is having. We should not directly jump to the side effect when a patient develops something, because without drugs, some patients and some people, they are developing their own disease without taking drugs.
Right.
Also. So because the previous question is that after starting this they are finding hepatotoxicity and renal failure. So some people may develop diseases of the liver and this kidney failure even without drugs also. So it is worthwhile to carefully see that this disease is really because of the drug or because of the some other disease developing coincidentally. That is the comment.
Sir, we had all these
So
patients investigated.
Okay.
I am from a major institution, Calicut Medical College. We have an ID department here, and LFT deranged patients were sent for gastroenterology consultation, and they found no other reason for the derangement, and they asked to change the drug. So we
Okay.
had to change the drug.
Okay.
Okay.
Changing the drug, side effects, I mean, these problems has been subsided or not?
After changing the drug, it's slowly coming down.
Okay. Because
TP
previous investigations, studies at Botswana and those Kenya and others, the side effects is very, very less. And
Right.
if our patients is having this much at the beginning, so we have to have a close look at the side effects. Okay, thank you.
Sir, after seeing the side effects for the first time, means
So,
within 3 months we noticed, and we are doing a study here. We are doing monthly
think that-
investigation for the first month. Then every 2 months we are doing all routine investigations. Like that only we are picking up.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you for that clarification. So I think just to sum up, yeah, we cannot like, and in this case, obviously you have worked out, but unless we have really worked up our patient properly, we cannot label that symptom or sign to be an adverse effect of a drug. So a thorough workup is required, and that's why we are like, no, I mean, NACO is planning this kind of a study because we do not know how our patients will respond to DTG based regimen. So obviously there are some concerns also, but like the global literature shows that it is comparatively a very safe drug, and we don't expect a very high toxicity profile with this drug. But then this activity will give some answers to this, and maybe something because I think Kerala even the diabetes rates are anyways very high. So maybe we'll have to see, and with this data, when the data would be coming from all the sites, we would know what is happening, is there a regional variation, or some of the population in some of the states are behaving in a different manner, or there are some background issues which are actually playing some role in these kind of symptoms. So we are just actually this form is just to collect the information, and then obviously when we do the analysis and interpretation, we would have more insights into these kind of issues. That's the very purpose.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Nirmala from Bowri. Ma'am, see, active monitoring is done. We have third line patients from May of 2020. We are doing the active monitoring, but I feel it is convenient for us to, if you give us a sample size to monitor the DGG side effects.
So all patients who are enrolled in your center till I think we decided May, and I think NACO would take a call based on what kind of enrollment.
Because now the transition is done in a large scale. So active monitoring maybe better if the sample size is done for us.
So because the transition is still going on, we and it is at different pace at different sites. So we do not know how many patients we would be able to enroll. But considering all the trends in the transition, NACO has decided a period of 3 months, enrollment period of 3 months, and post that all the patients would be followed for 2 years. But then at the end of 3 months, NACO would reassess the situation, and if we need to enroll more patients or monitor more patients, NACO would take call after 3 months.
Okay. Until then, we need to enroll all the patients.
Yes, all patients so you will start this activity from 8th, that is Monday. So all the patients you will start on a DTG based regimen, or you will shift, that means you will substitute or switch to a DTG based regimen. They have to be actively monitored under this activity.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Right.
Good evening, madam. Do we have to enroll the patient who are previously also started on the DLD, DTG based regime?
No, sir, I think we would have not collected the proper information, and we would not be able to interpret. It will create bias to the entire thing. So it has to be a prospective enrollment.
After 8 Feb. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, it should be a prospective one.
Ma'am, there are no more questions in the chat box. So maybe if participants can unmute and ask.
Yes, sure. If
Just,
there are
Dr.
more
Reshu just
questions.
wanted to know whether we've been shared with the list of those sites, 60 sites you said.
Yes, so I think NACO sent that OM. Dr. Purnima, do you want to clarify?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question? I just had a bad network. I just lost the voice in between.
So she's asking for the list of centers. I think that's sent by
I
NACO.
can share the NACO
Yes,
letter.
yes. The list
on
of
screen if
centers
you
are
want.
attached with the OM which was shared, and if you want, we can share it again. But it is attached in the same letter.
Okay, okay. Thanks. I'll check again. Thank you.
So I have just shared my screen. This is the NACO letter. So with the recorded link, maybe we can again send this OM to everyone.
Sure.
Dr. Reshu, do we need
Yeah,
to-
that would be a help.
Thank you, Divya. Maybe you can mail it also once again if there is any confusion. Huh?
Dr. Reshu, do we need
Okay,
to
ma'am.
take consent of the patient?
No, sir, this is no, I mean, the adverse effect monitoring and management is the standard care part, is the part of the standard care at ART centers. So no consent is required.
But when,
This has to be anyways done.
but when we say enrollment, if we use that word enrollment, that we are
So we are, I mean, it's basically when we are doing these slides and doing this presentation, it's very difficult to explain like what we are doing. So it's basically what we are saying, any patient who is started on a DTG based regimen in the next 3 months would have to be followed for next 2 years. So I mean, in just that's what we are saying. But I mean, just to explain, the word enrollment was used, but this is like more of a routine program activity, and we are just building on that activity.
okay.
And one more thing, this is because we have already taken a concern from the patient when they are put on ART drug.
Right.
They will be ready to any change of drug.
Right.
Also, they will be agreed to on. So that concern
Yeah,
is
yeah. So
standing good.
So adverse effect monitoring is to be done by ART centers at all times.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I'm Dr. Aparna from Hyderabad. I just want to know, do we have to exclude the infective etiology and only then record as an adverse event, especially diarrhea?
That's where you have this to write the comorbid condition. So if something is I mean, obviously when we say adverse effect, there has to be some sort of a causal relationship. But even if you're not able to differentiate, maybe it's good to document it, and also to note down the comorbidity and the other treatment which the patient is undertaking.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
But if you know that it is something somebody comes with a fever, say and it is flu or something, then obviously it is not an adverse effect. So I mean, obviously with your clinical discretion, you will be able to make these kind of judgments.
Okay.
Dr. Reshu. Dr. Reshu.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one clarification, is it all the patients on DTG based regimen or the patients from February 8 to May registered?
All the patients, irrespective of the date of registration, but they have to be initiated on a on a DTG based regimen. And then when I'm saying initiated, this could be a new initiation, it could be a substitution, it could be a switch to a DTG based regimen.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any more questions? Yeah. So I think Dr. Chinmay from NACO has joined us. Dr. Chinmay?
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes.
So have we, it's really a pleasure to be a part of this meeting. So where are we actually? Is all the presentation and any more queries that are pending or all are resolved?
So we are done with all the sessions, and we have discussed the entire activity and also the recording and reporting tools. We were having a Q&A and session right now, but it seems like, I mean, if we have more queries, we can still discuss. I'm not sure.
Yeah, please continue with the query resolving. Maybe I would also like to hear the views of our participants regarding this activity. Whether doing this is going to really create a burden on them in terms of number of hours they'll put in or any additional. I mean, I just want to hear the concerns of all our participants also. If anyone has any concern, of course.
Any concerns, any questions, any doubts, I think we can take up.
Ma'am, there is one more question from Dr. Sarita from Kalavati. What will be the sample size? She has asked.
I think we already discussed
Yeah,
that. And all patients who are initiated between February and May would be included in this activity.
I think the questions might come up once we roll out this. Maybe a week after, once we start capturing the data, then we get to know more issues from the center level. Right now, I think at our level, I think everything is clarified, everything is very clear. So maybe tomorrow, once we do it for the RT plus centers, and then start rolling it out from 8th February, I think then we'll get to know more queries on this.
Sure, and if required, we can again regroup also if there are concerns coming from the centers, or if something to be discussed again. If people are not clear, we would be happy to have a next round of discussion also.
Dr. Reshu, one question that arises is the cohort. Now, suppose I have registered from April, so we follow it up to April. But after we register a new patient from April, how do we monitor for the next 3 months? Because unless we have a sample size from cohort, then we are saying we have some complications for certain people from April onwards. Then where do we record it?
So see, this is in addition to the routine monitoring. So the routine monitoring, which is done at the ART centers, and documentation, which is done in the white card, is still to be done. And I think the information is more or less same. We are just systematically collecting that information and documenting it so that we can analyze and NACO can interpret some the data and find if we are getting something which needs some intervention or which needs a more closer attention. So that's the only purpose. But the routine monitoring systems at the ART centers are robust enough to capture any adverse effect and manage those. So that has to be done irrespective whether this activity, I mean, the patient is part of this activity or not. That does not matter. And one purpose of this activity is to strengthen on those systems. So people after doing this kind of a rigorous or intensified activity, they should get habituated to assess their patients for adverse effects and document that in the white card. So that is the ultimate goal. This piece is that's why this kind of active monitoring is being done only as a additional piece to the routine systems. And it is time bound, and ultimate goal is to to actually capture and all the adverse effects as part of the routine monitoring in the white card and in the SOCH or IMS platform. So there's a question I'm seeing in the chat box that after rollout, if we have queries, whom we can call to clear them. You can write your queries to the email which was shared in this presentation, and we will try. One of us will reach back to you if we need to discuss in person. Otherwise, we can clarify on the mail also. But you will definitely get a response.
Do we get a copy of this presentation, Dr. Ish?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thanks.
All the training material, job aids, SOP, everything, the adverse effect monitoring form as well as tool, everything would be available.
Okay.
So
I think Divya, that's already shared.
Yeah, Dr. Reshu. So when the queries that are coming up from the centers and when the issues that are being resolved, when the email is going on, so we can obviously have from NACO, Dr. Purnima will try to keep her on loop. So she will be the focal point for this discussion. Dr. Purnima is a consultant of CST division.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chinmay.
Thank you.
For
Hello,
clarifying that.
Madam. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is COE RIMS Imphal.
Yes, sir.
Again, we are just want to clarify. We are on discussion that whether we exclude the previous patient which is enrolled, switch to DTG on August. Previous month.
Or shall we start the enroll? I mean, recording for those patients who are going to start from 8th of February only.
So whomever you will start from 8th of February, you have to maintain the AE forms for those patients. But for all the other patients, the information is anyways to be collected in the white cards. So you will anyways be doing the routine monitoring for all the patients.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
So I don't think we have more questions. So, Dr. Chinmay, over to you for next steps and wrap up.
Okay, I'm sure you have talked in length in your presentation about the steps that are going to be followed at every center. So I really thank Dr. Melissa and her team, Dr. Reshu and Dr. Ramesh, and Dr. Anwar and his team, and all those who were involved in this process from the beginning. And we hope that this small activity is going to generate some evidence for the Indian subcontinent. We always say when in HIV terminologies, in the subcontinent of India is on one side and the rest of the globe, the data that we generate from the rest of the globe is on another side. Because the amount of data that we generate is definitely going to give a lot of evidence for taking our next steps ahead. So this is a new drug. I'm sure you, in the last 1.5 hours, you have learned a lot about what are the adverse effects to look for, how to identify these adverse effects, how to respond to them. Because as a physician or as a ART staff, the first and foremost action of the ART center staff would be that how do we respond to this adverse effects once we have identified them. So after responding, I mean, patient management should never be neglected. It should be first and foremost. But having done that under a program, the next step comes, how do I report this? How do I document this? And why do I do this? I'm sure you learned why we are wanting this data is to have a country specific data, and also to make sure that we know what are the steps, how to avoid them and how to manage them. So after you have documented, how do you report? And definitely, so this is a part of the entire monitoring process. So we hope all the participants of today's meeting have gained this knowledge about detecting, responding, monitoring and reporting of the side effects of adverse effects of dolutegravir. So we are doing this in-depth and active monitoring just to have more country-specific data so that we can have our actions accordingly targeted towards that. because what the activity that you are going to do is going to help in the long run. A lot of programmatic implications will be there. And we can also look at how do we target some of our resources towards that, whether we need to look at each patient more minutely, whether we need to train more staff of ART in a different manner. Well, the blended clinical training is of course there, whether we need to put in some more information and training of our staff. So all these have to be taken into account. And we hope we all had a fruitful discussion. So if you have any queries, so as was indicated, please write to the email ID that has been given to you. And of course, from NACO, we'll have Dr. Purnima, who will be in charge of this. And please put all your concerns, suggestions, comments, and feedback regarding this activity. So we thank CDC, ITEC, and Share India team who are going to help us in doing detailed analysis of the data that is going to be generated. So wish you all the best. So thank you, everyone. And I'm really sorry for I couldn't join in the beginning. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinmay. And I think with this, we'll close this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all the participants.
Thank you, madam.